Hey everyone, I'm out here in the garage today, and recently I've been doing a look at some of the tools that I use for automotive repair and maintenance and home improvement projects. And I thought I'd take a look today at this tool. This is the Klein K1412 wire stripper and cutter tool. So stay tuned. So who is Klein? I think it's safe to say that Klein is one of the most popular electrical tool brands, especially in the US. Amazingly, this company has been around since 1857. I personally own a couple Klein tools that have worked great over the years. To see Klein's full lineup of tools, check out their website at kleintools.com. So when I bought my house a number of years ago, I had this wire stripper and cutter that I used to do a lot of work around the house. And I primarily used this for working on my car. So if I was inside of a dash, or if I was putting in a stereo or fixing my alarm system, I would use this tool a lot. So I figured, this would probably work really well for doing electrical work around the house. And it does okay at that. But as I got more into putting wiring in the wall, putting in junction boxes, I realized that this tool probably was not going to cut it in a lot of instances, and I could probably find a better tool to do those kinds of chores. So that's when I started to kind of do a little bit of looking around, and I came across this tool, the Klein K1412. So we're going to kind of take a look at this tool and then compare it a little bit to this one as we go along. The Klein K1412 wire cutter and stripper tool is used on NMB or non-metallic B cable. Non-metallic refers to the cable sheathing, which is typically made of a flexible plastic. NMB was introduced in the early 80s to comply with National Electrical Code, or NEC, revised standards. Alright, so let's take a close look at the Klein K1412. We're going to start with the nose and work our way down to the handle. So let's start at the nose here. And you can see we've got these serrated teeth. And what those are used for is to grab onto wiring and pull it through a box. Or you can also use it in instances in closed quarters where you need to bend wiring. So I have a piece of wiring here. Go ahead and clamp down on that right there. Give it a nice little bend. There we go. So that's what those teeth are used for. And there are some other holes down here for bending wiring that we'll talk about a little bit later. All right, next we'll move down on the tool, and we've got these two slots here. And I just wanted to point out real quick that this tool can be used right-handed or left-handed. So you'll notice on this side you've got some markings, and then on the other side you've got some markings that are kind of reversed in some instances. Now these two holes right here, this one says 14-2, this one says 12-2. So what those are used for is to take the sheathing off a cable. And that's primarily why I bought this tool, because I was getting tired of using a utility knife to cut the sheathing off, and every once in a while I would nick a wire and I'd have to cut that off and start all over again. And when you get into a junction box where you don't have very much wire to play with already, that's not a good thing. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So I'm going to use the 14-2 slot right at the top there. Go ahead and put this in there. How I like to do this is kind of clamp down, bite into it, and then I lift up a little bit off, take the pressure off, and just slide this off like that. So very, very simple, and then all you have left is the paper to cut off after that. Same thing for the 12-2. Put that in here like this, clamp down, then just lift up a little bit and just slide it off like that. So very, very simple. Now, in many cases, the length of sheathing I'm removing is a bit longer, so I'd bite down on the sheathing with the tool, then remove the excess with my opposite hand. All right, so let's drop down to the next set of holes right there. That's for stripping wire. So we've got, on my side, I see over here, 14 and 12 for solid, and then 16 and 14 for stranded wire. You're probably seeing something opposite of that on your side. So this is a 14 gauge solid wire. I'll go ahead and strip that real quick. Just kind of put it in the tool. Find the 14 right there, clamp down, and just strip it off. Very simple. And then here's a 12 gauge wire right there. So let's go ahead and put that in the tool. I'll clamp down on it right there. Strip it right off. Very quick, very simple. Now, like I said, it also does stranded wire. So this one is 16 gauge. So I'll put that in the tool. See that? Strip it off. Very clean. So that's the wire stripper holes on this tool. Once again, they're right there. Very easy to use. Now, if we take a look at this tool for stripping wire, you can see the holes are right here. And the range on this tool is 10 gauge to 22 gauge. So it's got a wider range than the other tool. The difference, though, when it comes to actually being able to reach wire, this one has the holes more at the end of the tool. And on this one, the holes are kind of in the center. So if you're in tight quarters, this tool is going to work a lot better. All right, so let's drop down to these two holes here. These are used for bending wire. So I see solid over here, stranded over here. You probably see solid over here and stranded over there. I know the markings actually are rubbed off, so I'll put a picture up of what they typically look like. But let's go ahead and bend some wire. So how I do this is typically I will find the hole that I want to put it in. So I've got a solid on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. And I feed it part way in, as you can see, and just enough to catch on there. And what I'm going to do is make a loop for putting it on a screw, like on an outlet. So I'll put it in there like that, and then just kind of bend it. There we go. So there's a loop for solid wire, and then we can also do the same thing for stranded wire. It's pretty much the same process. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, and I'm going to bend it the opposite direction. So 1 second. There we go. So if you wanted to bend, I mean, you could do it by hand too. It's not really that big a deal to bend stranded wire. So very simple using the holes on this tool. All right, so let's take a look at the blade on this tool. Again, double-sided, so you can cut left-handed or right-handed. The blades on here are a little chewed up. I haven't used it a ton, but they are a little chewed up. They still work pretty well. You can use this to cut a whole package of wire like this, a whole cable. So they are long enough that you can do that kind of work very quick. And then also you can use it, of course, to cut wire. So here's a wire right there. Let's put it in there. Snips off very easily. Now, the one thing this tool does not do very well, it doesn't cut stranded wire very well. And that's because the blades cross. Whereas on this tool, the blades, you got this one blade here, and then you've got a blunt end on this side. So if I try to cut the stranded wire with this tool, you'll see that it doesn't cut very well. It doesn't cut all the way through. Whereas with this tool, because as I said, it's got a blunt end on this side, when you cut stranded wire, it snips right off. So I wouldn't use this tool at all for stranded wire. It's really made for residential solid wire. And I would just use this one for stranded wire. All right, so a feature I don't use at all on this tool is the screw shearing feature, which is right down here. There's two holes for that. And basically what that means is you can cut a screw to length. So I've got a 632 hole right there and an 832 hole right there. So how this works is I have a 632 screw right there. I'm going to go ahead and screw it into this hole like that. And then it's going to pass through to the other side. See, it's coming out the other side right there. And then I can cut this to length. Just grab it like this, and then just, it cuts it right off. Then just screw it back out. Now, I've found that this doesn't work the greatest. Every once in a while, the end of the screw will bend a little bit. So I had to take the screwdriver here and just kind of unscrew it. So what I would do is if I wanted to screw this into, like, for example, this bracket here, I would go ahead and run it back through the tool. Just kind of run it back several times, and then that should restore the threads on the end. So that's one thing I found, is that this doesn't work, like I said, very well. Whereas the end, you can see a little bit, hopefully, that the end's a little bit bent. So you can do the same thing with the 832 screw also. All right, so next we'll come down to the lock. Very simple. I like that about it. There's no complexity to it at all. So to unlock it, you just basically press the handles together and then it's unlocked. And then to lock it, press the handles together, pull the lock back over. Very simple. All right, then there's a spring for opening and closing the tool. The spring looks pretty strong when I look at it. It's got a very nice gauge on it. It's not really thin. So I like that about this tool. I think that spring will last a really long time. All right, so then we'll come down here to the handle. You see the handle's got a curve on it, which is really cool because as you can see, it fits really well in my hand. And it'll fit right under my thumb. So I've got a lot of control and a lot of power that way. So that's really cool. And again, it's right-handed and left-handed. So I really like the handle on this tool in terms of texture. It's not really soft that it's going to fall apart over time. And it's not too hard that it's going to be uncomfortable to use. So very, very nice handle. I like that a lot. The one thing about this handle on the back side, you'll see right there, there's a warning. It says, warning, not insulated, will not protect against electrical shock. You can see that right back there. So that is one thing you have to be aware of with this tool. If you are working on an electrical circuit, make sure you turn the power off because this is not an insulated tool. Also on the handle, you'll see right there on the front, it says made in USA. So if that's important to you, this tool is made in the USA. All right, so I thought I'd do a quick demonstration cutting the cable sheathing off inside of a box. Now, as I talked about, the blades for cutting the cable sheathing are right here. We've got the 14.2 and the 12.2. So this is 14.2 cable right there. So I'm going to go ahead and reach inside here. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to grab right there, cut. So you can see I'm probably about an inch down from the entrance inside the box. Hopefully you can see it. Let me get my hand out of the way there. So that's about where I can grab. So then what I would do is just kind of pull the sheathing off right here. There we go. All right, so we saw where it cut right there. It's about an inch down. And you would imagine for 12.2, you'd have to come down even further because where you cut the 12.2 is a little bit further down in the tool. So you're not going to have the same kind of reach. And I think the code, if I remember correctly, is a 1/4 inch. So you have to have a 1/4 inch of the sheathing inside the box here. So let's go ahead and try the 12.2 now. Go ahead and put that in back there. Okay. Then I'm going to grab I'm going to look for the 12.2 on here, which is right there once again. Let's go ahead and put this in there, about right there. There we go. So it is a little bit tough to cut with these inside of a box. Ideally you would do this outside of a box, but it kind of can do it in a pinch. So there's a little more sheathing inside the box than I would like. So that's what it looks like there. Not too bad. And of course, if you have access to the clamps, you could spread these out a little bit and then pull the wire back through. So overall, not too bad at all.
On the DIY Apprentice wrench rating scale, I'm going to give this tool a 4.5 out of 5. This is a very solid and easy to use tool that is made in the USA if that's important to you. I especially like the slots for cutting the sheathing off a 12.2 cable and 14.2 cable. That saves a lot of time and headache. And I like the curved handle that fits under your thumb for better control and more power. A couple minor negatives of this tool are that the screw shearing feature doesn't seem to cut cleanly and causes a slight bend at the end of the screw. Also, the cutting blades are a little beat up, but they still function just fine. Overall, this is a much better tool than my old wire cutter and stripper tool for electrical wiring projects around the house. See links in the description below. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check us out on social media. And thanks for watching.